hockey legend Wayne Gretzky, known for his clean image and unparalleled success on the ice, is now facing a serious legal battle off it. The issue stems from a failed business venture involving a weight loss product, which he co-promoted with former business partner Veera Mahajan. The product was marketed as a cutting-edge supplement aimed at helping users lose weight naturally, using organic ingredients and a science-backed formula. With Gretzky's global recognition and trusted reputation, the product launch generated early buzz. The hope was that Gretzky's endorsement would boost credibility and attract attention in a competitive industry. The dispute started when Mahajan accused Gretzky of fraud, claiming he made false representations that misled her and caused financial losses in the business. Her lawsuit alleged that Gretzky provided exaggerated projections of sales figures, misrepresented early customer feedback, and overstated the product's future market value. She claimed that these statements encouraged her to invest more resources, expand distribution plans, and make financial commitments based on inaccurate information. According to Mahajan, she relied heavily on Gretzky's word, trusting in both his public reputation and his personal assurances. Although the fraud case was dismissed due to insufficient evidence, Gretzky is now countersuing Mahajan for malicious prosecution, alleging that her legal claims were both groundless and damaging to his reputation. His legal team argues that the lawsuit was never about actual wrongdoing. It was, in their view, a calculated move to harm Gretzky's reputation and pressure him into a settlement. The malicious prosecution suit aims to prove that Mahajan knew her claims were unfounded, but went ahead with the legal action anyway, causing both financial harm and personal distress to Gretzky and his family. Paul Coffey, a close friend of Gretzky's and former teammate, spoke about the situation. "Wayne's been under a lot of stress lately. This isn't just about business. This is personal for him. He's always stayed out of trouble throughout his career, and now he's having to defend himself in court over something that he believes is completely unfounded. It's tough, especially when your good name is being dragged into something like this." The business partnership between Gretzky and Mahajan was centered around developing and promoting a weight loss product aimed at helping people achieve healthy results. Initially, both parties were optimistic. Mahajan brought her experience in wellness product development, while Gretzky's influence was expected to create wide exposure. They signed contracts, developed marketing plans, and even secured meetings with major retailers. Despite the high hopes, the product struggled to meet sales targets. Reviews were mixed, and the public reception cooled quickly after launch. Financial strain soon followed. As the business faltered, tensions between the two partners grew. Mahajan began raising concerns about promises she claimed Gretzky made during development, statements about product performance, expected profit margins, and long-term viability. According to legal documents, she believed those statements played a key role in her decision to continue funding the operation. But when her investments didn't yield returns, she blamed Gretzky for misleading her. However, when the matter was brought before the court, the judge found there was no sufficient evidence of fraud, deception, or intentional misrepresentation. The case was dismissed. Attorney Lisa Harding, who has been following the case, commented on the dismissal. From the start, it was clear that this case lacked concrete evidence to support the fraud allegations. Wayne has always been transparent in his business dealings, and while it's unfortunate that the product didn't meet expectations, that's part of the risk in any business venture. The court's decision to dismiss Mahajan's claims shows that there was no fraudulent intent on Wayne's part. Now, Gretzky is pushing back with a countersuit for malicious prosecution. This legal action asserts that Mahajan's fraud claim was not only false, but also filed with improper motives. In malicious prosecution cases, plaintiffs must prove that the original lawsuit was filed without probable cause, was driven by malice, and resulted in some form of harm, reputation, emotional distress, or financial loss. Gretzky's legal team says all three apply. They claim Mahajan used the court system as a weapon, not as a way to seek justice, but to publicly damage a figure whose reputation has been spotless for decades. Kevin Weeks, an NHL analyst and former goaltender, weighed in on Gretzky's decision to countersue. "Wayne's always been a guy who avoids confrontation. He's never been one to stir the pot. But in this case, I think he feels like he has no choice. His name and reputation mean everything to him, and this lawsuit has taken a toll. By countersuing, he's standing up for himself and sending a message that he won't let false accusations define him." Despite the ongoing legal battle, Gretzky has chosen to remain largely silent in the public eye. There have been no official press releases or statements made on his social media platforms, and he has declined interview requests related to the matter. Sources close to him suggest that this silence is part of a legal strategy. Speaking out during litigation, even in self-defense, can complicate legal proceedings. Any public comment can be used in court or misinterpreted by the media. Gretzky is instead choosing to focus his efforts on the legal process, trusting that the facts will speak louder than words. Glenn Sather, a longtime friend and former coach of Gretzky, spoke about Wayne's approach. Wayne's always been the kind of guy who deals with things behind the scenes. He's not one to get into public spats or make a big deal out of issues. He's handling this situation with the same professionalism he's always shown. Once it's all sorted out, I'm sure he'll say something. But for now, he's doing the right thing by staying quiet. As this legal battle continues, there is growing concern about how it could affect Gretzky's reputation outside of hockey. Though his achievements on the ice are firmly etched in history, 4 Stanley Cups, over 2,800 points, and countless records, his public image off the ice has always been just as strong. He's been the face of major brands, partnered in multiple ventures, and held leadership roles in the NHL. Endorsements, partnerships, and business opportunities often rely on public trust. Even a dismissed lawsuit, when linked to fraud, can cast shadows over someone's credibility, especially in today's fast-moving media cycle. Jamie Parker, a PR expert who works with high-profile athletes, weighed in on the potential impact. Wayne's brand has always been associated with integrity and excellence, and that's something he needs to protect. Once the legal process is complete, I think it would be smart for him to come forward and make a public statement. By addressing the issue head-on and showing transparency, he can put this behind him and maintain the trust that people have in him. Despite the legal distraction, Gretzky remains active in the hockey world and business landscape. He appears as a studio analyst for NHL broadcasts, offering insight and commentary that reflects his deep knowledge and experience. He's also involved in various business interests, including ownership stakes in sports franchises and endorsement deals with global companies. But sources close to him acknowledge that this lawsuit has been draining, both mentally and emotionally. Even for someone with Gretzky's composure, the weight of a public legal dispute can be overwhelming. Paul Coffey added, "Wayne's always been about moving forward, not dwelling on the past. Once this whole thing is behind him, I know he'll get back to what he loves: hockey, business, and spending time with his family. He just needs this chapter to be over." As the legal proceedings move forward, Gretzky's team is focused on presenting a clear and thorough case. If the malicious prosecution suit succeeds, it may not only clear his name, but also set a precedent for other high-profile individuals facing baseless legal attacks. Supporters and former teammates continue to rally around him, confident that the Great One will emerge from this storm with his legacy intact. In the meantime, Gretzky is doing what he's always done best: staying calm, staying professional, and letting his actions speak loudly.